This is Storyboard. Hi, I'm Zach.
I'm Jameson.
Nice to meet you, Jameson.
Nice to meet you too, Zach.
What do you like to do for fun?
Oh, I write stories and I do some voice acting. What
Yeah.
about yourself?
I write stories and do some regular acting.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Hey, you know what we should do?
What?
We should make a podcast.
Oh, really? About stories and voice acting?
Yeah, you know what? I think maybe we should read our stories, like, in this podcast.
Like,
Maybe talk about 'em.
dramatically?
Yeah, dramatic readings.
Oh, man. And then talk about them?
Yeah, and maybe, like, get some community questions and things like that.
Oh, man. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Hey, wait.
Are we doing that right now?
No, we can't be. We're just talking.
Yeah, especially with these mics in front of us. I can't believe that.
No, sitting around a table in a room with 2 different colors of lights.
Well, today we are back to discussing Castaways.
Always. Yeah, we're back.
We're back.
After a vacation of yours. I was here. I was ready.
You were here? Like,
Yeah,
in the studio?
I came here in the studio
And you're
ready
waiting?
for you.
I'm
Broke
sorry.
into your house.
I was camping for 3 days, 3 nights, 4 days.
3 days, 3 nights, and 4 days?
No. 3 nights, 4 days.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds fun. I was not camping. I was at home. I worked. I
Oh,
have
man.
responsibilities.
Me too.
Just not while you're camping.
Not while I'm camping. In fact, this next week I'll be camping again.
What?
Yeah.
Where are you going this time?
Just up the canyon.
Fun.
Scouts.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, this next week, I will be helping at a camp.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Where at?
I don't know.
I think that's something you might need to know.
We're back to Castaways.
Yeah.
And you can tell that we haven't seen each other for quite a while because we go on tangents. So
Yeah.
I'm very sorry about that.
Yeah. Well, today our discussion. Let's see. What did we talk about last time on Castaways?
Last time on Castaways. Wow. We went all like 90s extreme there. We talked a bit about Robin Crusoe and like the introduction of water into the world and a bit of the Castaways' origin. So today we are going to talk about some of the creatures of Castaways, and we wanted to have it so you guys could see a little bit of our creative processes. So some of these creatures are pretty fleshed out. Some of them are a little less fleshed out.
Cyclopses.
Cyclopes.
Cyclopes got you speaking weird.
No, processes.
Processes?
Yeah, processes.
Okay.
They are both legitimate ways of saying the word.
Cyclopes.
Yes, it's
Processes.
not cyclopses.
Processes.
Yes, processes.
Processes.
We wanted to let you in on some of our brainstorming processes so that you can actually see how we create, see how we work together to make this world happen, to make these worlds happen. Because both of us are very intricately connected in each other's creative processes.
Creative thoughts and patterns.
Yes, it's thoughties and patternies.
Cyclopses.
Cyclopes.
So, what kind of creatures are we talking about? Are we going to go on Earth or just
So we're going to go just to Atlantis, just to the world of Castaways.
Okay.
Because we could talk about some of the creatures of Earth. That'd be pretty boring.
Yeah, I don't think anybody likes to talk more about baboons and their butts.
I don't know. Primatologists might.
Big bubbly baboon butts.
Big bubbly baboon butts. Big bubbly baboon. That's not hard to say. It's fun to say,
It's
but
fun
it's... A lot of these creatures and things that we're going to talk today are based a lot in mythology. Some of them may seem like they're being stolen from other mythological thingies.
Thingsies.
Yes. But we're trying to make our own spin on them to make them
Fresh.
very unique and fresh.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing we wanted to talk about were Sirenes. AKA sirens.
So I think there's only really one way to say it. Well, I guess I have heard people say sirens.
You have?
Yeah.
Ugh. It's sirens.
Sirens.
Now, according to mythology, what is a siren, Jameson?
Well, according to the mythology and different kinds of lore, it always tends to be a sexual creature, a creature that takes a sexual appearance and has a voice that entrances sailors or passerbys in the area. Most of the time, they either take the form of humanoid women or of mermaids, and they're very beautiful, voluptuous, I guess you could say.
Is it voluptuous or voluptuous?
Voluptuous, I think.
I don't know.
Methinks.
Let us know.
And they tend to be the bane of sailors because, you know, they were pretty much written because sailors are lost at sea, or not lost at sea, but they're gone at sea for long periods of time, normally without having the other gender on board, and so therefore they're easy to entrap and entice.
Yep. So there you have it. There's a good base on a siren. We're taking sirens in a little bit different of a spin. They are still going to have that entrancing song to them, but what else sings? Birds sings, and very small rocks.
Very small rocks.
Yes, very small rocks.
I've never heard of very small rocks sing.
You need to listen harder.
Oh.
Here, let me toss one your way.
Dang.
So, taking it with sort of a bird route. So these things are not only stuck to rocks or like in the ocean. They can literally go wherever. The sirens, they all have the head of a woman. And then from there on is an exposed spine that goes into bone wings that have muscles hanging off of them.
Really?
They don't have any feet, so it's just the head with the spine and then wings with the intestines and all the gross things hanging off of them. They can fly using magicals because, I mean, they don't have any feathers.
Zombie bird women.
Zombie bird women. And they make a wonderful noise when they're on the ground because they can walk by using the tips of the bones of their wings and skittering. So they go...
Ugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, when you're out on sea, you get what you can get.
Okay.
So...
I mean, that must be quite a song.
Oh, yeah. Their voices are entranced with the magic of the air. And so that they are able to pretty much get anybody who hears their song. So, very dangerous. Watch out for creepy bird zombie women.
All right. Next up, we've got the Megalodon.
Now, a megalodon is not actually based in myth. It is prehistoric.
Yeah.
Megalodons range anywhere from around, let's see, I think it's about a 10 feet diameter of a mouth to about a 20 feet diameter of a mouth. Don't quote me on that, paleontologistes.
And if you go see the movie The Meg, that's I mean, the trailers show you multiple different sizes of the same shark, and so who knows what size that thing is, and it's probably going to be like super ginormous. So
the megalodon here is super ginormous. It is a singular being. It's only one of them. There's only one megalodon. It is the last of its species. It is extremely aggressive, and it is followed by a lot of lesser sharks, sort of as almost a hive mind situation.
Hive mind sharks.
Hive mind sharks.
Interesting.
Yeah, how'd you like to run into that in the water?
I wouldn't, personally. I'm the kind of person who avoids the ocean at most.
Yeah, we were watching the other week some gameplay of Sea of Thieves, and they just introduced a megalodon. I came up with this megalodon before they introduced theirs. By the way, my megalodon's bigger.
Yeah, I know.
Much bigger. It's like eat a ship whole big. And needless to say, once it was underwater, once the gameplay footage went underwater and saw the shark, Jameson had to quit the video.
Like I can't. It's like I can be on the water, but the fact of having something massive that could consume me in a single bite without really realizing it, understanding that that's swimming below me and seeing it being underwater and seeing the entire thing, that terrifies me. Things of ginormous size underwater. Yeah, that's ugh.
There's a specific phobia for that. I don't know what it's called though.
I don't know. I think I might feel the same if I saw an iceberg.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be alive.
I don't think it has to be. I think it's just if I look underwater and there's this massive thing that goes deeper than I can see that could potentially be dangerous to me, I think that's just, yeah.
What about the deepness of the ocean itself?
The darkness and stuff? Yeah, I'd rather be able to see.
Okay. Well, while we're on the subject of prehistoric creatures, by the way, we're talking about the ones right now that are pretty much completely flushed out. We'll get to the creative ones in a second. The Loch Ness Monster.
Oh.
Yes.
The Loch Ness Monster?
Yeah, she actually lives here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that where she disappears to?
Yep.
She must have a whirlpool.
She can create her own whirlpools.
Oh.
She is a portal creator.
Tricky beast.
Yep. Very tricky. She likes to sneak up on tourists. Just boo.
Got a picture? No, you don't.
No, it's just a log. So you're in the world of Castaways, you're going to find lots of prehistoric water dinos. Dinies. Water dinies.
Dionysus.
It's dinoses.
Dinoses.
So that's everywhere from Megalodon and the Loch Ness Monster to, I mean, like, what are they actually called? I just think of Ammonite, the Pokemon. Little gastropods.
Yeah.
To the big creatures with like the sawtooth grossness and
yeah,
tons of those. Nextly, we are going on to the Kraken.
The Kraken.
The Kraken.
The Kraken.
You've actually been introduced to the Kraken of this world.
Oh, yeah.
In the prologue.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah. And chapter 1. It
Was
appears.
the same thing?
Same thing. I hope you knew that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I knew that. Hopefully you knew that.
Hopefully it was obvious. I mean, water horse creature. That's how that appears on Earth. It appears a little bit differently in Atlantis.
Ooh, how does it appear?
Tell us, how does it appear, Jameson?
Well, it appears more in a physical form with multiple. Let's see. You explained it as a large creature that had multiple different heads upon its tails, on its limbs,
Mm-hmm.
and it spat out other fish and sea creatures from its mouth as it attacked things or ate things. It would just bleh things.
It's constantly foaming with what appears like sea foam on each of its heads. It has, you're going to see it a little bit in the chapter we read today.
Ooh.
And it'll go into a little bit more of the physical appearance and the massiveness of this beast. It's very much Hydra-esque, as Jameson was saying. It's got multiple heads, and each are very, very big and very scary.
Cut off one head, and two take its place.
Don't chew your tooth.
Oh.
That's a gross way to die. So going for a different take on the Kraken. Usually it's a big sea beast with tentacles. This time it's a big sea beast with horse heads.
Giddy up.
Next we're going to talk about the new character, the Cowboy of the Sea, who rides the Kraken. The Kraken is also known as the Perfection in this world, we should say. Mm-hmm. The Cowboy of the Sea is known as non-existent, sadly.
We don't have a Cowboy of the Sea quite yet. I mean, we have space cowboys,
Yeah.
but why can't we have sea cowboys?
Well, one of the space cowboys is named Maurice, according to the song.
Mm-hmm. Some people call him a gangster of love.
Yeah. I prefer Space Cowboy. All right, so after this, we're going to get really diving into some of the brainstorming aspects of creating new characters and creatures of this world. So I really wanted to start out with merfolk.
Merfolk!
And so we can't take the siren route for merfolk.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to take something different.
So, let's see. Are you thinking of them as fish-like humanoids, or are you thinking of them humanoid-like fish? So, people with fish-like qualities, like gills, ears, that look like fins, or things like that. No hair, but fins down the back, but they still have the humanoid figure, legs and arms. Or are you thinking more fish-like with humanoid features, like a fish with a human head, or
the Little Mermaid?
Yeah.
Okay, I definitely want to go with the first route, the humanoid fish things.
so humanoids with fish-like features.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I was really thinking of making them from Deserted.
Oh.
The island Deserted. So
they're the ones who deserted the island.
Oh, potentially. Deserted is still a bit inhabited. Nameless is the one that's completely not.
Oh, okay.
Deserted is the island of the people that worship the deep.
Ah.
And so maybe these merfolk could be people that have completely embraced the deep, completely embraced that darkness inside of themselves, and mutated to be able to inhabit it.
So are these going to be more intelligible races, or are they going to be like monstrous in nature because they've changed so much?
Ooh, that's a good question. What if, here's a thought, they could be intelligible in the light water, and then when the deep comes, they become monstrous.
Okay. Do they mutate more when the deep comes, or is it more their instincts kick
More
in?
instinct.
Okay.
So these things, they'll have sharp teeth. They'll have claws with the finned hands. But they almost go into a barbarian rage.
Oh, okay.
when the deep comes upon them. So they can be pretty civil. I mean, they're still pretty evil creatures.
Yeah.
Until the deep comes and they're like, "Rawr, I'm gonna eat you."
Nice. Okay, cool. So it's going to be multiple different fish type of people, so they get mixed with different creatures of the sea. So you'll have a squid person, a shark person.
We'll have Space Cthulhu.
Space Cthulhu. No. Yeah, you'll have a goldfish person.
Yeah. An electric eel.
Electric eel.
Planning on. Barracudas. Barracuda.
Dolphin people? Are they the kinder people that shun the deep?
I don't think we will have a dolphin person. Because I want these things to be... Yes, I want them to be... I want them to all be worshippers of the deep.
Okay.
So maybe there will be like one outlier who like, man, now that I'm here, being a shark person's not the life for me.
Man, I'm sick and tired of eating fish all day.
But that person, even though they might be good throughout the story, if they get into contact with the deep, they'll still turn.
Oh, okay.
So there's a race for you. That'll be a fun one. That'll be fun to see what they do. They could like live in Atlantis itself, the sunken portion.
The sunken portion.
Use those buildings.
The people that worship the deep so that they can return to their homes.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah. More on them later. If you have questions on them, if you have ideas on how they could get better, send them in. We might use it.
And remind you that you can send your questions on in to storyboardpod@gmail.com.
That's storyboardblah@gmail.com.
Storyboard.
So I wanted to talk a little bit more about another race too, which are the Minotaurs. Minotaurs live on Utopia. That's that big walled city that has the labyrinth in it.
Ooh, that's like ancient Greek mythology right there.
Yes. What's the story? The labyrinth.
The labyrinth. That's like labyrinthian right there.
Whoa,
See,
no
now
way.
You understand why I was just like, that doesn't work.
So the Minotaurs, I want to keep with the half man, half bull.
Okay.
But I'm not sure bull-headed or bull-butted.
Well, if it's bull-butted, is that a minotaur?
It would be a minotaur, technically, because a satyr is half goat. Right?
I guess. Yeah, I think it is.
Because I think it would be really interesting to do almost a centaur-type aspect, but instead of a horse body, make it a bull body.
I believe there might be a mythological creature like that, and there is a name of that type. I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah, sure. So I was thinking maybe doing that, having maybe some of them be the half man, half bull creature, with the bull butt. Maybe have others become have the traditional minotaur with the bull head and the human body. And they can make some interesting hybrids, such as a full bull.
Full bull.
A full bull. But I want these creatures to be, if they're bull-headed, I want them to be a little less than human. I don't want them to be extremely intelligent. Prone to bouts of rashness, not necessarily good or bad. Definitely depends on the person. But there's a reason that the Minotaur was the enemy of the labyrinth. The one thing that you wanted to avoid. So have the There we go. That's how it is. Let's have the gatekeepers of the labyrinth be the ones that are human-headed,
Mm-hmm.
and the monsters of the labyrinth be the bull-headed.
Oh, okay. Kind of keeping in that same realm as like the merfolk, that are some that are more intelligible and sentient, but then some that are crazed and more animalistic. Okay.
I like that.
As in land, as on sea.
As in land, as on, and yes.
As in land, as on sea, yes.
Yes, yes, like that. We could add an interesting turn to it with a labyrinth and have it almost be an internment camp. Maybe they're lesser, looked at as lesser, and so they're all placed in there to just fend for themselves.
Okay.
That could be interesting.
That could be interesting. I've got a lot of ideas and thoughts about how the labyrinth could work, but
Let's hear them. We can brainstorm.
let's see. What if, it's more manufactured of a labyrinth, as I can tell from your thoughts on this, and so it's not like the mythological labyrinth where it's just a creature that plagued a lost labyrinth, basically. It's more of these creatures were placed there because their animalistic styles and it became a good torture chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, what if these people also dumped hallucinogenic material into the labyrinth that caused them to be more terrified of their surroundings and see more things than just the Minotaur.
Ooh.
But the Minotaur being the representation of death. If they're caught by that, then that's it. But there are other things that they're terrified by within the labyrinth that may or may not be actually real or existent.
I like that. Just make it pure horror.
Just pure horror.
Which I love that dichotomy between utopia on the outside, this is the perfect society, and then, holy crap, this exists here. I love that. That would be fun. That'd be real fun. I might delve into that for next week's story.
And you can even make different type of minotaurs within it, like razor horn minotaurs that scrape the walls as they walk to sharpen their horns, and then the
hello, my name's Chad Minotaur.
then the more intellectual, more but yet not intelligible. So like they can craft things. They make weaponry and traps and stuff, like rude traps, but still they can hunt.
I like that. We'll delve into that some more. That'll be way fun.
It'd have to be a massive labyrinth.
Oh yeah, it is. It is really big. Utopia is the biggest of the islands, so it's got room. It
Nice.
definitely has room. Awesome. Let's talk about Oni.
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 Oh, knee. Ah, my knee.
Yeah. Knees are actually creatures, and
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking.
Oni-chan.
No. In a lot of Asian societies, nowadays Onis are represented by masks.
Uh-huh.
And last time, a couple times ago, I think we were talking about the islands. No, it was last time. Last time we were talking about the islands. We learned that the steampunk island Rookhold. It corresponds to Asia and Europe. And so I was really thinking about maybe bringing in a bit of that culture into this island, making it a little bit different. And then,
and as we stated, the cultures aren't the same one-to-one ratio, but some of our cultures can be influenced by the creatures and mythological beings that lived on these islands.
Yep.
Such as the Oni in classic Japanese and sometimes some Chinese stories. They're creatures that they represent with masks, like Zach said, that are spirit people that walk around, or sometimes even creatures, monsters,
and
demons that plague the earth at certain times during the night, sometimes during the day if it's foggy or if it's dark. And so, yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to explore that spiritual connection with the masks, and maybe have it so the people on Rookhold have some sort of technology or access to some sort of magic that allows them to place people who are dying, their consciousnesses, in these masks, or to be able to twist them into making the demon Oni, and imbuing them in these masks. And so if, say, that Jimmy here wanted to speak to his grandpa, who's been dead for 10 years, Jimmy's dad could go and place an Oni mask on him. That is his grandpa's Oni mask, and be able to receive that communication and portray it.
So he would wear the mask and be able to communicate
With the grandpa, yeah.
Okay.
But I want to explore like how we can have the good Oni.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just love dichotomy. I love having two separate things.
Yeah.
So how would the demon Oni work in that same system?
So I was actually just thinking of that. Here's my thoughts, and I'm quick to coming up with ideas. Some of them are just random and dumb. Some of them can be pretty detailed. So let's say a person will wear a mask to communicate with an elder, with an ancestor.
Mm-hmm.
Which without the mask, they're represented by animals.
Sure.
Yeah,
Animals, spirits.
Yeah. So, like, if you saw them without the mask, they would be spiritual-looking, wispy animals that ran around.
Okay.
And so, like, but with the mask, you could see their true form, see who they are. But at the same time, not only the mask isn't just like a pair of glasses you wear. It literally is putting a piece of your soul through the mask into this other realm where you can abide with them.
Interesting.
But that can attract the dark spirits who didn't entirely get a mask that they owned placed on them, or those who didn't get a mask, and they're coming to claim yours while you're wearing it, to claim your body, to claim the mask you're wearing. So the longer you're wearing it, the more danger it is to have. That's my thought.
That could be cool. So if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is that the Oni themselves, they manifest in this world as animals, wispy animals.
Yeah.
If you give an Oni their mask, they can return to their previous form.
If you wear the mask, then you see them.
Oh, you can see them as their
previous form.
Okay, I like that.
But the more you wear it, the more the bad Oni are aware of you being connected to that world, and they'll come to attempt to steal it from you.
Okay. So I like that. We can roll with that. Let's say if a bad Oni gets a mask, they can place it on them and manifest completely physically.
I like that.
And it's sort of, let's make it even more higher stakes.
Uh-huh.
Not only can they place the mask on them and it makes them manifest physically, that mask is now fused to them and that ancestor is gone.
Oof. So I can just imagine this person wearing the mask, obsessed with a lost love or something like that, wearing the mask, trying to communicate, trying to be with them for a long time, to get that time they lost. But then the Oni realize that they're there. They come crawling, they sneak in. The guy's getting terrified, but he doesn't want to let it go. The Oni literally find him, reach in, grab his face as if it was, grab the mask as if it was his face.
They're face stealers.
And
they're Zubera.
And they literally put on the mask while they're wearing it. In their world, they're putting it on, taking their bodies, and their bodies are being mutated by the Oni.
Oh, heck yes,
and so
that's
literally,
cool.
It's not just them appearing through the mask. It's they're taking over the body of the wearer, and it's becoming the demon.
I love that. Yeah, that's those are Zuberas, face stealers. I like that. So we have two divisions of the Oni. We have the good Oni, the spirit walkers, and we have the bad Oni, the Zuberas.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's real cool. They only appear on the steampunk island.
Ooh.
So,
Ooh.
Rookhold with demons and mystical creatures. That's gonna
That
be
could be
fun.
really interesting.
That's gonna be real fun. We have next Cyclopes.
Cyclopses. Cyclopi.
Cyclopen.
Cyclopa.
No, Cyclopes. Cyclopes.
Cyclope.
Cyclopes are exceptionally rare. They are hardly ever seen. They're very reclusive, very hermit-like, and are pinnacles of knowledge and wisdom.
Mm.
So you got a question you need answered? Go and see the Cyclops. That's why it's Cyclopes, because Cyclops is the singular. It's not a cyclop.
Cyclope. Cyclopes.
So, I want these Cyclopes. I was thinking that maybe they could be like exceptionally elderly.
Okay.
So still giants, still the one eye, but they're like, "Hello, Sonny." So not strong, completely.
So does that mean that being a Cyclops, you are inherently fragile?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yep. I mean, if it's a newborn Cyclops, you could go up and like poke it, and it'll break its leg.
Ouch. So
Yeah.
they're huge, but they're very, very weak.
And as they get bigger, they get more and more fragile. It's just like, I mean, Great Danes, they have lots of back problems because they're so big.
Yeah.
And you look at some of the tallest humans in the world, and they can barely walk. These Cyclopes at 20 feet tall, they're having some real rough problems. But what they lack in their physical prowess, they make up for with their mind. They are able to, so these are creatures of the land, and they are able to use the land to almost scry.
Okay.
Foretell a bit of the future, even though it's real hazy.
They could find things. They could see at distance.
They're oracles.
Okay.
So they'll be fun.
Huh. Yeah, that'll be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They-
Especially just, I mean, I'm nobody. Who's nobody? Nobody did this.
Nobody did. Curse you,
Nobody.
nobody.
That poor Cyclops. He's one of the rare cases where they're dumb. No, he doesn't exist in this one.
Okay.
But so next we go to the deep, deep, deep sea, where there are massive giant crabs.
I hate it when you have massive giant crabs.
Me too. These ones, I sort of, let me know what you think about this, but
Okay.
creatures of the deep, like the very, very deep, not the
deep.
the deep, but the deep.
Uh-huh.
Most of them have never seen the sun, and so their bodies have no native pigments, so they are stark white.
Okay.
Most of them are completely and totally blind too.
Hmm.
And so I was thinking of doing that with these giant crabs, making them absolutely massive, extremely like sound-based creatures.
Like pressure and
Pressure
wave-based.
and echolocation,
Yeah.
and exceptionally aggressive.
Yes. They're hungry.
They are extremely hungry.
Mine.
Mine.
Hey.
And I really wanted to throw these creatures in because Jim, with his power, he's going to be walking along the bottom of the sea.
Dangers afoot.
Danger, Jim. Cruise.
Danger, Jim Cruz. Danger.
It just doesn't have the same ring as Will Robinson
Nope.
for danger. So I wanted these to be apex predators, almost. I mean, the Megalodon can probably take them on,
Oh, yeah.
but it's not coming away pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that they pick off whatever swims too low.
Mm-hmm. They're just like, ooh, mine now.
Now, these would have to be like the deep, the valleys and the things that existed before
Mm-hmm.
the water became, so that it would blow the cities. And so the merfolk, they would live in the city, but this would be the trenches that surrounded it, the places that they wouldn't dare to go.
Absolutely.
Because they're not inherently evil, they're just aggressively hungry. They're snapping at what they need to survive.
They're hangry.
They're hangry. Very.
Very hangry.
The embodiment of hangriness.
Should we give them a name, a creature name, or should we just call them giant crabs? So nextly, Jameson, is actually a creature that you wanted to introduce to the world. Did you not?
Yes, actually, this was my thought. So before we were discussing, and I introduced the idea of the Leviathan, which is a mythological creature that normally tends to be the largest creature within the ocean. At this point, Zach has ushered the thought that they are not as big as we think they are. These Leviathan live as more snake-like, eel-like creatures within the ocean that are inherent enemies to
the next creature we're going to talk about.
Basically, they consume a certain type of fish, but there's a certain type of animal, creature, more of a shell-like creature.
It's a lion turtle.
The lion turtle.
It's the lion turtle.
The moving island. They're inherent enemies to that, and so they're naturally attracted to attacking and attempting to consume the lion turtle.
They do this through, I would think, a variety of manners. I think it would be really awesome if they were electric eels. Like, they have a snake-like tendency to, constrict, and then they just shock.
Ooh.
Until it's...
wrap around its feet as it swam, and then try to...
shock it to death.
And sink it. Ugh.
So exceptionally powerful creatures, and those will be fun to add. As you can tell, this ocean is not a nice place. It's not a place you want to go swimming. So that brings us to the lion turtle. We talked a little bit about the lion turtle last time. He is the moving island. His species, the lion turtle species, has been completely hunted to death by the Leviathans. And he's the last one. So, I mean, at the bottom of the ocean, you might see some corpses of dead lion turtles that are hollowed out.
Giant shells that the crabs live in.
Oh, creepy. They picked them apart. They're still dangling bits of flesh. But the lion turtle is an inherently magical creature. It has exceptional defenses. It can make itself blend in from the bottom up. So if you're down in the ocean and looking up to see a lion turtle, it just looks like the sky or the top of the ocean.
Oh, okay.
But you can still see the tails of the water moving. So
it's kind of like that effect on some things where a flat surface is placed in the water can still retain some air bubbles, and so it looks like it's just the reflection of the surface from the bottom.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. The lion turtle is... Let's see, what else do we want to do with it?
Well, because it's the last one surviving, it must be so old. Why it's so large?
Oh yeah, it's called the moving island for a reason. Each of the lion turtles were originally connected to pieces of land. That's why there is only one left, and so much of the world is covered in water. But it's massive. It is in no means dwarfed by any of the islands. Swims around, loves its life, Just like, hey, Leviathan, I'm going to bite you.
Its only form of defense are the people who live upon it.
Yep. And there's not many of those. Because they're like, well, I'm going to go move to the lion turtle. Wherever it is. So, I mean, it is not an offensive creature.
Yeah,
it is
very defensive.
Strictly defense. And is quite sentient.
Okay.
It knows how to speak. Chooses not to most times. It's very old, very slow.
Cool.
So there you have it. There are some creatures and things from Castaways. We will get them more fully fleshed out. You'll see them in stories. I'm super excited to maybe write something about the labyrinth next week. That might be fun. Or next time.
Next time, yeah.
2 weeks.
Next Castaways episode.
That's what I mean when I say next week.
Yeah. But for now, we go on to the favorite portion of the podcast. Zachary Shane Brown will introduce to you and read to
That's
you.
my name.
Mm-hmm. In an epic format, the chapter from his story, The Deep Dweller.
A grimy, hole-ridden pair of pirate boots thumped on the deck of the Deep Dweller. Their filth paled in comparison to the man who wore them. Judd Dench was a slimy eel of a man, with a pronounced hooked nose, greasy black hair, an oddly, impeccably groomed beard, and 2 eyes entirely the color of the deepest ocean with no white remaining. The hulking brute of a man lumbered back and forth, shouting commands at his crew. "Lower the sails," he bellowed. "Raise the anchor. It's time to set sail once again." His crew scurried and scuttled about, fulfilling their captain's orders immediately. Judd smiled, showing his lovely yellow teeth. He had worked hard to achieve such impeccable decay. As the ship pulled away from Deserted's harbor, he sauntered up to the helm, seized it with his foul hands, pulled a lever at its side, and grinned once more as the ship, pulling away, began to sink into the depths. Water rushed over the sides of the ship, pulling it even further into its cold embrace. The ship, however, kept moving, and the crew kept working, each footstep, each action slowing to a drudgery until the crow's nest, finally, disappeared from above the waves. The unfortunate fellow atop the crow's nest began to blubber and groan as the water forced its way into his lungs, completing the ritual required in order to let the rest of the crew survive. Judd grinned to himself. It was hard to find good help nowadays. Ones who would sacrifice themselves so that his miraculous feat could be accomplished. He found that the best way to do so was to promise the unfortunate souls that their families would be well taken care of and never want for anything again. He also found it quite handy not to tell the men that the reason their families would never want for anything was because they were all dead. The water around the Deep Dweller began to slowly change from the crystalline blue of water near the surface with sunlight still streaming through it, towards a navy, then to an indigo, then to the deepest of blacks. The whole of the Deep Dweller began to glow a ghastly green, illuminating the immediate area around the ship. The green light seemed to pervert the water around it, acting like a smoke, slowly lighting up the area as it drifted upwards. The blackness deepened further as a massive shape drifted its way towards the ship. The shape began to undulate back and forth in a multitude of directions all at once, like 100 pieces of seaweed being thrashed about in the most tumultuous tsunami. One strand slowly made its way towards the ship, and as it got closer it became visible in the ethereal green light. A torrent of sea foam salivating profusely from an equine head as large as the Deep Dweller itself. Instead of hair where the mane should be, a sinuous fin ran down a large eel-like neck until it disappeared. The creature had an otherworldly shine to it, like oil on the surface of water, not quite black or green or blue or purple, somewhere in between none of them, yet all of them at once.
"You've returned,"
the creature bellowed.
As it spoke, the sea foam stirred up an undertow that threatened to yank Judd's grip off the helm. He watched, nonchalantly, as his crew disappeared into the depth, and sighed inwardly. He'll have to replace those.
Our master demands to know why.
Judd's reply was immediate and full of hate. "So he sends a puppet?" he sneered. The beast writhed with indignation, stirring up a maelstrom beneath the waves as the head suddenly lunged towards Judd, ready to kill. Its gaping maw revealed massive, pointed teeth, each the size of a man. Sea foam spewed from its mouth as it yelled in indignation and completely engulfed Judd. "So it was this again, was it?" Judd sighed, and walked forward down into the inky blackness of the Perfection's throat. He was accustomed to being eaten, and then into the large stomach chamber. The room glowed with an eerie light shining from the stomach membrane. The light swirled and danced, showering the room with a menagerie of colors from its oil-like sheen. In the center of the stomach, a figure sat cross-legged, seeming to absorb all the light. Judd forced himself to drop to his knees and began his petition. "Your..."
Silence.
The being seethed, standing up from its position. It was vaguely humanoid, with arms and legs, but it was difficult to discern just where the figure began. It fuzzed around the shape like a painting with perfect shading from light to shadow, so flawless, so pristine, so menacing. Judd, completely unfazed, continued. "Your
Silence.
The creature uttered again with its otherworldly, calm, almost imperceptible voice that at the same time was so vast. The face that spoke to Judd contained no facial features at all, just a blank slate of pure black.
If I wished you to speak, I would let you speak. You are treading on sacred ground, a land between realms, my domain. I can do with it and with you whatever I please."
As if to prove a point, dozens of figures shot up around the room as if appearing from nothing, each of them with the same form as the lead figure speaking to Judd. They all took a menacing step toward him.
"You mock me with your mere presence, boy. Your demeanor speaks nothing but lies. If I choose it, you will die where you kneel now. Choose your next words extremely carefully."
"You're failing." Judd gaped and shot at a tendril of blackness protruding from his chest, and his vision faded. Judd started awake in a blackness as deep as the one he had just succumbed to. He felt around his surroundings and felt nothing but damp, moldy wood. So, with no regard to his hands or feet, began pounding on it. With each pound, dirt poured in around him. Not a problem. The land had no sentience, and the breathing ritual should still be imprinted on his soul. After a few hours of discomfort and claustrophobia, Judd's hand pierced through to air, and he pried himself out of the ground. "I hate dying. So damn inconvenient. Now I'll have to get a new crew." He took a look at his new surroundings, and sure enough, it was a typical graveyard. He looked at the headstone of the body his soul had just snatched up. A nobody. It's always a nobody. No matter. This might take a while anyway. He left the grave desecrated and made his way back to the shore. He barked an order in his native tongue and waited. His ship suddenly burst from the water in all its glory. Judging by the color of the waves, the deep was nowhere nearby. So he climbed onto the deck, gripped the helm, and once again plunged into the depths, seeking his prey.
Well, hey guys, that was awesome. Thanks for taking a listen to this podcast. Remember, if you have questions, you can send them to storyboardpod@gmail.com.
We love to read them, and we love even more to answer them.
That's all we've got for this time, so we'll see you next time around.
When we return to the world of Eternity Found. Well, the worlds, I guess.
The universe. The constellations.
The constellations.
We'll see you next time.
Toodles! Oh, we gotta leave them with a sound hug.
Oh yeah, sound hug.
We can't leave you without a sound hug.
Come here. Oh.
so good to have you
Missed
here.
you guys for a week. All right.
Okay, bye.
Bye.